So AOC is very obviously at this point running for president in 2028. You can tell by the sexy hair that she's got on display here. This is not AOC's normal hair. She's giving it a little tousle, a little frizz, a little spray. She looks fresh out of a sex bed right there. No, she looks great. She's running, and as I was saying before, I was predicting this a month ago on the show, and people were tripping out. Like, in all the comments, they were like, what? The conservatives, they were like, what? AOC's not going to run. We would love for AOC to run. She's the worst. And they're like, oh, her positions are so horrible. How no one will ever vote for her. I was like, guys, literally all she has to do is come out and say, well, that was then and this is now and it's a different time and era and blah. And it's funny because that's exactly what she ended up doing. So here she's moving more towards the middle, as expected. Happens with every presidential candidate, and particularly with her since she has some more radicalized views. This is her on the show describing woke. I guess she was asked about the woke policies and she dismissed it as woke one, as being just a crazy time. Listen in.
Understanding is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her election. She's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was
crazy.
And I think that what's important is that standing.
Holocaust one was so crazy. Oh my gosh. We did and said some crazy shit back in the day. Oh my God, woke one was so crazy. And people are bringing this up because she dismisses it as, well, it's woke one and it was a crazy time. She goes into it a little bit more about defunding the police and how it was the Overton. I think we'll play a clip in a sec, but she's talking about how it was during COVID times and the Overton window had shifted. And so it was more just a thought of the times. You can't ascribe positions, abolish the police as like you had a crazy time in college and everyone does some crazy stuff in college, right? Like, that's how she sounds when she's describing it. I think this is the clip of her responding and they're treating her with kid gloves, whoever this reporter is. You can tell he next asks her about her stance on defunding the police. She looks like she really doesn't want to answer any of these questions, by the way. But he asks her about her stance on defunding the police, and he puts it in kid gloves. He's like, oh, you briefly supported defunding the police. Briefly. It was one of the major things she repeated, right? But he gives her a chance to explain. You guys can listen in here.
I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was
crazy.
And I think that what's important is that we have to assess what...
Did the movement go too far with some of those positions? You briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time, and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns. Yeah. And I think that...
Who didn't want to defund the police and burn the country down? Am I right?
The doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime down, right? And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
So she did exactly the thing that I said she was going to do, which it's so simple. She just goes, oh, well, that was then and this is now. We all did some crazy stuff during COVID times, right? No, actually, not everybody tried to burn down the country during COVID times. That was actually only one side, as I recall. There was a group of radicals on the left that was pushing at the time, especially during the George Floyd hysteria, defunding the police, abolishing prisons. What was some of the other stuff they were... Oh, here's the thing, is people are rightly pointing this out. You can flip-flop on certain things, right? But you can't really flip-flop on a position, abolish the police. I don't see how that is a flip-floppable position. But you're like, oh, no, it's during COVID. But now that I think about it, I'm really more for defending the police. I think the police are a good thing. Abolishing the police is not a policy suggestion. It's not a tweak, not a minor thing. That's burning the country down. That's burning the system down, right? And starting from scratch. That is a revolutionary idea, right? You can't just flip. I highly doubt that she is just completely flip-flopped on that position and it was just crazy COVID times. Maybe she is just more concerned about winning power, being popular, getting votes, and maybe she just says what she thinks people want to hear. That would be the only other plausible explanation, but she doesn't strike me as that type of person. She strikes me as an actual socialist who believes this stuff. A Che Guevara, if you will, right? So I don't think you can just flip-flop from that. She's pushed also the rhetoric of that we should expand the Supreme Court, right? That we should pack the Supreme Court. You didn't get your way. Justices were elected, just happenstance that you don't agree with. So your solution isn't to work within the current system, but just do it better, win votes, get power, get the justices in that you want. Your solution is to burn it down. So she's exhibited a very consistent messaging of wanting to burn the systems down because she doesn't agree with them and she doesn't see a way to work within them. Now she's saying things like, oh, well, obviously we all want to bring crime down. Why is she saying that? Because she knows that she has to send that messaging towards middle America, towards moderates, towards white people, if she wants to win a general election. And that's what she's gearing up to do. So to me, this is just like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? I don't think that she's changed any of her ideas. I think she's just trying to get into power by coming off as more moderate, more attractive, both physically and policy-wise to all the moderates who would vote for her. And then once you get in, then you can pack the court. Then you can tweak. I don't know if she'll ever defund the police, but you could push some of those more outlier, radical criminal justice reform ideas that she's been wanting to get through, but the only way to get there is to come off as more normal, right? Here's her talking about she's a card-carrying member of the Democrat Socialists of America, which is a topic she would also love to not discuss. You can tell by how she answers it in this clip we'll watch.
Are you still a member of Democratic Socialists of America?
Of the New York City chapter.
The New York City chapter, not the national.
No.
Of the New York City chapter. It's a local chapter. It's like a book club.
And what
So every DSA chapter is formed.
Yeah.
And so the New York City DSA chapter, those are folks that you know. It's my local union chapter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Are you?
And yeah, they're folks that, you know, it's really hanging out with your neighbors who happen to be communists. But it's folks, you know. So that I answer about sobriety when I'm on Hinge dates. Like, I don't really talk about it. Yeah, it's just a group. It's folks. You know, there's just people down the street. And so, yeah. Just so to move on from the topic. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now. Shut up. I'm trying to run for president here. So, but yeah. I've noticed there's a big push on social media right now. Anytime I talk about socialism or communism, I'll usually have a video where I like call out some communism or something. There'll be all these bots and Democrats that flood my comments, pointing out that it's not communism, it's democratic socialism, and I should look up the differences. So there is a really big push to shove through communism under the guise of this brand new fancy thing called democratic socialism. This ain't your grandpappy's communism. This is democratic socialism. Somebody online asked me what if I knew the difference, and I was like, yeah, branding. It's the same thing. It's like putting lipstick on a lesbian. If you're a liberal, that metaphor makes a lot more sense than the. So yeah, she defends Hassan. As you guys know, Hassan Piker is like a very radical, I would say militant podcaster. She was asked, I think maybe it's this clip, maybe it's another one. She was asked about Hassan Piker because apparently she's a fan of him. And was on record as saying that America deserved 9/11. But you can see her defend Mr. Hassan here.
Another person who's been made an issue is Hassan Piker, who obviously endorsed Abdul al-Sayed in Michigan. You've been on his live stream, at least at times. He's somebody who's, that 11. Now he backed off from that.
Yes, he's apologized.
But he said a lot of controversial things. Is he somebody that should have a role in the progressive movement going forward?
I think look at our elections that have happened. We have lost young people. Much hay was made about the...
This is a very long yes, by the way. I can already tell. And by the way, you don't get to apologize for saying that America deserved 9/11. You should get...
fact that we lost young men in the last election. And many of the same consultants that are wringing their hands today were the same ones talking about how we need to go on Joe Rogan and we need to be not so willing to engage cancel culture. And I think that the flip-flopping on this is a tactical debate that they may be having. I think the fact of the matter is that Democrats can go on Joe Rogan, Democrats can go on Fox News, Democrats have a responsibility to build a winning coalition, and young people are engaging in mediums and conversations that we have a responsibility to attend to and be responsive to. And
do you support the podcast guy who said that America deserved 9/11 being a voice for your party? Yes or no? It's been like a minute talking every podcast they could possibly go on. She obviously likes the guy. Maybe that's who she's saving her eggs for. Maybe. Hassan might pike her. You never know.
And even right now, when we look at this insurgent wave of what is happening, oftentimes when people are doing that Monday morning quarterbacking and what demographics voted where, the big one that's being ignored is the generational tidal wave. Tsunami.
You see it in the polling. It's significant.
Millennials are not, punk kids. We're grown adults, mortgages and kids.
Interesting because she's using the royal we. She just froze her eggs, which is the other topic. We'll kind of get into it in a second. Has no kids currently. Here's Shuan. This is like a person, if you don't know who that is, she's kind of a cool person online. She says, haha, woke one was crazy, but if you said woke one was crazy during woke one, you were a fascist, racist Nazi. So whatever progressive politicians are talking about right now, they'll just woke two was crazy it away in 5 years. Incredible stuff. Unfortunately, yeah, that's how easy it is, basically. It's exactly what I was saying is she doesn't, the reality aren't going to vote for someone based on what they said 5 years ago. They're going to vote for someone based on their charisma. And that's the dangerous thing about AOC is she is really the perfect delivery mechanism for in the United States because it comes wrapped in a pretty little bow. It comes wrapped as like the girl next door, seems smart. I just think she's stupid, but she's smart enough to get to where she is. Pretty, very charismatic, speak, and what's the saying? The devil doesn't come like looking like the devil comes like dressed in nice clothes, gentleman or something. That's sort of what's happening here is the devil doesn't look like the devil.